So a few of the books I have read say that an old village, an average village, used to be a size of 150 people, and so entire village probably had an ecosystem within them. So what it takes probably is 150 people to have a small ecosystem. Now, an average Facebook user has 400 to 500 people, I guess, or maybe 300. I mean, Facebook could tell more. I haven't Googled that. But in my experience, most people I meet now is 300 to 400 people. So that is a small ecosystem right there. Now, a very interesting thing happened today, which I believed will happen, and it did happen today. So I was in a conference, and one of my friends, old friend, was talking about three kids who came up to her and asked for a space for incubation center in her center. And it turned out that those three kids were mentored by a person I met over Facebook 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe, yeah, I think 3 to 4 years ago. When I met him, I don't think he had many friends from Pakistan. I don't even remember how I met him. But I think I liked his name. His name was PJ Entrepreneur. And I sort of started messaging him, and then I added him, and I got him more friends from Pakistan and from around the world, and more and more and more. Now he has around 500 mutual friends as of today, almost 500 friends. And it was strange and interesting and amazing and happy and fantastic to see that the ecosystem is finally working. So these kids added him as a friend. I never added these kids as a friend, so I don't even know who they are. They know me. They are in my followers. So somehow they found PJ Entrepreneur, and I still have to talk to PJ about this, but somehow they found PJ Entrepreneur, and another boy I met on another conference a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago. Uh, he wanted to add me from another university. His name is Junaid, and he was saying to me also that he was mentoring these kids, and his primary mentor was PJ. So now this kid has 600 mutual friends with me, and 6 months ago he had none. So all of a sudden, PJ became a mentor for him, and two other people became a mentor for him. And this boy, I can see a spark that he will go out and succeed or do almost anything. The only thing which was missing in his life was these mentors and this network of people who could help him, guide him um, to do bigger things. And I realized around 2, 3 years ago that the biggest challenge Pakistan has is missing on leadership. So there's nobody who can sort of help them, walk them through, and show them very small steps of life, as a mentor, as a friend, without any interests. Normally, teachers have interests. So, for example, in college and university, the interests of teachers in at least my part of the world is to get the student passed in the exams, and a mentor and a friend does not normally have those intentions. So they're just friends, and they would tell normally people what is in their best interest. Uh, so this was a very emotionally interesting experience for me today to see these kids being mentored, and they actually, and one of the brightest questions asked by the commissioner of Karachi was from this one of these 14-year-old boys, and was very smart. His English was fantastic. They claimed to be homeschooled, which proved another point of mine that we really don't need to go to school at this time. We need to go to school for other reasons, not necessarily for education, because education needs to be reinvented, and till that happens, we need to. Well, it's a totally different topic. I don't want to get into that right now. but the ecosystem is working, and I guess I need to grow it more and find more proof that it's working. Another person I met today who was chasing another of my colleagues, Inam, was this girl who was chasing Inam and for some partnership with Chanak. And when I looked at her mutual friends, I took a selfie. I sent a message to her with my photo and her photo in her inbox, and I looked at her mutual friends, and it turned out Pamela Hills was there, which is another beautiful experiment which we did start doing around 2.5 years ago, where now she has around 7,000 Pakistani friends in her Facebook, and she's constantly introducing different people to each other, and she is just the person which people need for the pat on the back. She would just encourage anyone. She would just make anyone feel like $1 million, no matter what they're doing. So that is another thing which Sugata Mitra proved in his work, that all you need is a problem and curious enough students who want to solve it, an internet connection, and a pat on the back. And when you give anybody a pat on the back, they just start glowing and flowing into their rhythm and start creating stuff which is impossible in normal circumstances. So he calls it the grandmother factor. And I think Pamela is playing that grandmother's factor for a lot of people who are now being mentored by her just by being her friend. And that's what my whole journey has been for the last, few months or years, that, just friend someone on Facebook and somebody different and start learning different things from them, and just give them a pat on the back and say, hey, you did a great job. And even though they might be strangers, but unfortunately, we don't have people around us anymore who would say that, it would come up to you and just say, hey, you did a great job. So Facebook allows us to show off what we're doing and then get a pat on the back. Those likes buttons are not just likes buttons, they are a pat on the back for people who are doing their stuff. And when you see that this stuff is being liked, people are admiring you, people are thinking good of you, you feel good about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, you go about doing it more. So this is my small thesis. The result of this is that I feel that Obama or whoever has millions of followers on Facebook or Twitter have a huge ecosystem in their power, and they can use these ecosystems to fix problems. So imagine Obama posting a question, or Imran Khan in Pakistan posting a question, say, how do we solve this problem? I have never seen a tweet or Facebook post like that, which says, here's a problem, here are the people who are interested in solving it, how can we solve it? So when you ask those questions, people will start pouring in and starting to talk. It's like a big, what do you call them? It's like a big room of problem solvers who are coming to you and giving you solutions at absolutely no cost. So you have millions of consultants. Some of them would be just boring, but some of the answers would be phenomenal, and the answer would be just phenomenal. And when you have these phenomenal answers, you solve these problems. And what are the problems of the world? The problems of the world are not huge problems. There are many, many thousands of small little problems concluded into one large problem. So if any one of you have those 200 people, when you have a problem, have the courage to ask on Facebook, ask on Twitter, I have this problem and how do I solve it? Yes, you should Google it for sure. However, you have a collective brain power network, and these people are your friends. Maybe they're not your best friend in the world, but they are your friend. They might help you, and they might have the answer to your problem, and you might not be alone anymore, going through that problem anymore. So this is my advice to everyone. This is my learning to everyone. This is what I do. I have these 700,000 people who I post a question. A lot of people get upset. Why don't I Google? Because when I Google, I have to refine the search. I have to go through the answers. Whereas if I ask something on a post on my wall, thousands of people come back, process it, and if they have the time, they might even help me do it. I'm not going to ask anyone to inbox anyone for help like this, but ask it on the wall. No matter how personal it is, maybe if you put third party involved, you're shy, to putting yourself on the spot. You can put it on third party and just say, I have a friend who's having this problem. How would you solve it? So I think we are now very empowered human beings, just by posting these questions on our walls and letting the world come to us and helping us solve these problems. And I really sincerely hope that the politicians would start using this ecosystem which they have built finally, and within their powers have millions of people's minds, and they can really really solve problems. And if only they could start connecting these people dots together, they really don't need to do anything anymore. They can literally fix everything just from their Facebook and Twitter. Try it. I have done it. I have proved it for my own ecosystem. It's working very well for me. I know it's going to be a blast in the next few months or years. More more of these kids are going to be born, more of these girls are going to be born, more of PJ entrepreneurs and more Pamela Hills are going to inspire people from all around the world just to become who they're supposed to become. And I think PJ and Pamela are loving it while doing this. So why not give it an opportunity, and why not fill the gap of leadership or whatever problem there is, just using this beautiful tool which Facebook has given us. Thank you, Mark, for this. And empower ourselves. What's stopping us? What do you have to lose? What does a president or a opposition leader even has to lose? So people say that opposition does not have power, which I tend to disagree. So from today onwards, if opposition leaders could do it, if you don't have the power to do it, you're not the president. You think that you don't have the power to do it. Actually, you do. If you have the critical mass of this ecosystem, even if you don't have a huge number, you still have the power to start solving problems. Ask your friends, how do you solve the street problem? You never know what will come out of it. So that's my learning for today. I just woke up. Sorry for the clothes. And I just wanted to share this and write it down. This is how I shared it with myself. So if you have any comments, please write. If you know someone who is in politics, please get them to start asking questions. Please get them to start connecting to people. One little tweet can change the world. One little Facebook status can change the world now, because this is no longer one little message. It's millions of people who are reading these messages. And all we need to do is, within that ecosystem is the problem and the solution. We just need to connect it. There are all the problems which are within our network, and there are all the answers within our network. They just don't know each other yet. The connector's job, the politician's big job, is now to connect these dots and just ask people, even if they don't know who's who, to just connect these dots together. And once we connect these dots together, things will start happening on their own. It's self-organizing mechanism. And you just don't have to wait for the credit, or you don't have to say, hey, I did it. Not everything has to be called Obama Health, right? So let's start tweeting, let's start talking, and let's see how we can make a better world.